So, on the start of February, in the year 2000, that I started at Gordon MacPhail. And the thing is, at Gordon MacPhail, the first thing you do is you follow what we call basically the leadership stroke management development program. And I was the first to go through it. The third generation needs to take all the credit for this because they spent a huge amount of time working out how the best way for Gordon MacPhail to remain an independent family business. And that's something that was important to us. In doing so, they created this course, and it's not just for family, others can come in and do it if the opportunity is there at the time. The first thing we do is we learn how to make Scotch whisky. And we had Benromach, opened in 1998, having a bottle site in 1992. So yeah, there was a movie we do, the flashback thing. And because in 1993, just after we purchased it, I was studying at university and I came home for the summer holidays. And instead of going and dropping into the job I'd normally do through holidays, I worked at Benromach Distillery. It was 4 walls and a roof, and myself, my grandfather, and a lovely man called John Taylor, who was a great friend of my grandfather's. We laboured around the site, taking down anything that was rotting and crumbling and falling apart, including the front warehouse that we took down and grew the site. We put up all the fencing around the site, which is still there today. While we were working out the design for what Benromach was to become, we prepared the building ready so the contractors could come in. You know what, if we have employed somebody to do it, it would have cost quite a lot of money there. There was free labour. Now, I don't use the term young in this because the combined age of the three of us at that point was 171 years. And I was 21.
Okay.
So my grandfather and John were 75 years old at that time. So my grandfather was 74, John was 75. So it was 170 years is that. I must have been 20, was it 22? It must have been 22.
Was it just you and
And the two of them.
two of them?
Yeah. It was fantastic. Learned so much because, yeah, I was the young one, but they would explain and tell me, teach me how to do things. A lot of things that, a lot of folk just would never get. It's these lessons in life, how to do certain things, and very hands-on. And it was wonderful. I saw Benromach as a blank canvas. And so it's just so exciting to see what then came of it.
Yeah, well, some of my favorite whiskeys come from there. So when you were working there, did you get to participate in the mashing and...
Yeah, everything. So in 2000, and I mean everything. So I finished up as a QS and I was working with a guy from South Africa who headed up the construction program for a very large Swedish furniture company. He was just being promoted to come across to North America and be the head of construction development for the brand across Canada and the US. And I moved back up north and started at Benromach Distillery. And we caught up that week and he said, "What have you been doing?" And I said, "Well, on Monday, there was snow on the ground. I put on warm clothes, I put on an old jumper, and turned up, we got a boiler suit, put it on. And the first thing I did was sweep the floors. And then I worked my way around on the shoulder of Bob Murray and Keith Cruikshank and learned every single step of how to make whiskey. And then we went out to the maltsters and did that. We did loads of projects through the spring, which comes down from Chalperton Farm, and using some of my surveying skills, just helping assess the quality of that in terms of the actual, the pipe, the roof and everything. We did some work around the Sanker law, the incoming spring water and pipe. We're always checking flow rates and you need everything to do with it, from taking in the mash to, and we all, Benromach, everything's done by hand. So adding yeast, we use 2 types of yeast, so adding yeast by hand and controlling the cells and taking the cut points and everything. And every day recording with my hand, still done that way today. It was just fantastic. You can always not get a better distillery to learn how to make whiskey.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. And then we follow the whiskey. So into the next step is we split it in the storeroom where it then goes into casks. and then the solid room, and then from there into the warehouses. But at that point, we started then learning about the wood. That's where, at that time, it was my Uncle Ian and Ewan McIntosh. So then sitting on their coattails and getting the very best of education from them all about our wood policy, because, as my grandfather says, the wood that makes the whiskey. And these are relationships that go back 100 years with the people and the families that run the line. So what is Williams and Humbert today, the bodegas out in the street, but also the Speyside and Cooperage as well, which was back when it was owned by the Taylor family. It's changed ownership now, but only in the last 8 to 10 years. And so spending time learning all about the wood was so important. And then you follow the whiskey into the warehouse, where at Gordon MacPhail we've got the most sensational warehouse, and with a who's who of whiskey in it, and everything from new mix to it. That's the golden rule of Gordon MacPhail. So you do that. As you touch on, Benromach is quite unique in a way, because we've followed a first roll policy since we opened it. So